Okay, good evening, everyone. Randy Small, Whatcom County Weather, and I am going to do a live update tonight to see how. Well, honestly, I haven't even looked at much weather in the last little while. So, what I'm going to look at tonight is something that I have not looked at earlier today. So, I kind of like doing it that way, and it's just kind of makes for I don't know. We kind of learn together, and so Jennifer's going to kind of help out on both the pages, but I think I'm live in both places right now. So hopefully you can hear me fine. I think I'll probably jump right into this in the next minute or so, and I'm going to turn this over to the radar, which will start there tonight. But give a few more seconds to people that are going to join, and hopefully it is all well here. And just Jennifer's going to help with dropping some links in different places and just making sure that everybody has access to this. So, kind of just checking on or getting ready, prepped here as we get started here. Give a little bit of time for everybody to get on. Again, if you're new to the Facebook Live or the YouTube Live, thanks for joining. And as we go into these fall, winter months where there could be more storm possibilities, we're going to talk more about what those look like and what that might be as we go, especially when it comes to wind and snow and perhaps heavy rain. Even if we got an ice storm, we've done all of that over the years here. We're just about ready to come up on our 7th anniversary too. So, but if you can join on the stream, that is great. I'm kind of watching both of them here, trying to do a couple things at once. But Keith is on. Good to see you, Keith. He's been faithfully watching every YouTube live I think we've had since we started, just over a week ago. So thanks, Keith. Appreciate you following. And again, tell your friends, audio is cutting out. But YouTube Live, excuse me. Well, like the Facebook Live as well. But just keep on sharing it, keep on watching it, keep on doing whatever you're doing. Subscribe. But again, I may have to upgrade my internet. I've been thinking about doing that anyway. I thought I have a pretty good connection, but we'll see if how things go. It could be on other people's ends too, but B777 Traveler, hopefully this doesn't cut out too bad. So let's get going here tonight. Again, you can join on either Facebook or YouTube, and I'm kind of watching both here as we go. And it looks like we got a fair amount of people on Facebook as well. So, and I'll check the comments as we go too. Tonight we're looking at the radar, and you can see the first kind of band of rain, and I would call that showery. I mean, it might be, the yellows are a little more moderate, followed by this back up here off of Vancouver Island, up here on the, northwest BC. Southwest BC, but northwest of Vancouver. But you can kind of see that sweeping in. It doesn't look like this is a well-organized big system here, but you can see that we have some precip light here, but then maybe picking up a little bit, and maybe even already hitting Blaine area as, you zoom in here, and a light shower just went through Linden. I just got back from the gym and noticed my van had a few drops on it. So, but you can see some of that precip coming in. We're looking at the Half Moon Peak radar, which is situated right up here to the northwest of Vancouver, and that's kind of the best radar to look at the lowlands and even up here into the foothills, just because the Aldergrove radar is blocked. You can see it doesn't pick it up, and it blocks, and it's probably because either trees or where it's located, because it's so close to, in fact, it's about a mile from the border. You can see it from 8th Street Road, you can see it from Badger Road, you can see it from it's a big white dome ball, and it's up there on 8th Avenue, but it gets blocked. And then the Seattle, which is the Camano Island radar, but you can see it also struggles picking up. So I've found that the Half Moon Peak up here seems to pick up the precip, especially that's inbound precip that's coming from the northwest. We also have access to the coastal radar, which has been a huge thing. That's one thing Oregon does not have, and I know they wish they did, but we have it, and I appreciate whoever got that years ago, and help fund that, because that's a big thing to see what's coming up from here. But tonight we're kind of looking, it looks like from the northwest inbound, kind of northwest of us, coming in, sweeping in southeast, so to speak. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's look at the conditions tonight. And again, if you have questions that you want to be asked tonight, please feel free to do that on the comments. Jennifer's going to help out some as well. And I will try to keep checking the comments here. But I appreciate if you share this. And okay, cannot see the Okay, well, it looks like they see the comments now, but I'll keep checking on that. Let's look at the current conditions tonight, and that is we had a warm day today. The high at the airport was I think 60. Okay, it was 61. Max temp at 61 at Bellingham International Airport. We call that BLI, and that's currently where it sits. And partly because, if you want to know why it was a warm day, first of all, we got some southerly flow. And you can see where there's southerly flow. We got 62 in Ferndale, 61 here in Bellingham, the north end. And then we even got 61 here at the north end of Lake Samish, 63 on Lake Whatcom, 60, in that South Sudden Valley area, so to speak, 65 over on North Shore Road with some fairly decent gusts. And that's what's creating the higher temperatures. I'm not sure. This seems to be a pretty big discrepancy, 56 and 65 between, and again, that's with the southerly flow. I'm just not sure where this is located. Kind of off of Alderwood Avenue. And then we got a 65 here, kind of behind Shuckson Middle School. There, it kind of zoomed out here. Let me pull it back. There it is. So that's a 9-degree difference over a couple of miles stretch. So not quite sure. You never know. It could be that this gauge is our height, the thermometer's at different heights, and there could be different reasons why that is such a difference. But I think 61, low 60s is accurate here. But then when you get out of the southerly flow, it's kind of dead out here. Not a whole lot. You're more into the 50s, low to mid 50s. I don't know what this 66 is, but that seems a little high. At that Deming station, but and then 51 up in Welcome. Not sure. Maybe they've got a bonfire going on next to that. But 53 up at Mount Baker, Heather Meadows here, it looks like. And then quite a wind gust here at let's see, what is this elevation? Oh, it's at Pandome. So 5,000 feet, 39 south winds. So that's kind of what we're seeing here tonight. With the temps, you can kind of see up in Blaine is 56, but it was a warm day. In fact, let's pull up the max temps all around here, and you can see 61 at the airport, 63 in Ferndale, 62 in Blaine, 62 out in Sumas, 59s and 60 in Linden, 60 out in Nooksack area, 58. I don't know about this 66. That seems to be some of these, when you get these high anomalies, it's like 69, I don't know, maybe possibly there. This is an interesting, it seems to be here in a dome, kind of below. It looks like it's blocked by this hill. It's kind of where the railroad goes through, and Woodstock Farm behind Chuckana Village. I think some of you all know that, where this is. It's kind of, if you were driving that second curve on Chuckanut as you're kind of going into what I'd call the main part of Chuckanut, so to speak, as you're getting out of South Bellingham, you come to that second curve. In fact, I could pull a picture of this in the snow. You can't see it down there straight down. You can kind of see down here toward the railroad as you come around that curve if you were going north. But if you, and I'm not saying to do this, but if you were to drive straight, which you can't, you would kind of land where that station is. But it seems to get high temps, and I'm not sure if this is like a bowl and it's kind of holding that warmer air. It's kind of a strange deal to me. I've been watching that the last year or so. So maybe I'll go investigate that sometime, see where their setup is, and maybe be able to talk to an owner there. But anyway, that's our current temps tonight. Let's take a look at where we stand for the month to date here at Bellingham International Airport. Of course, we had our record-breaking day on the 1st. We've got another couple of big days here on the 5th and 6th with a little more rain on the 7th. Just to trace yesterday, there was maybe 200s. This weather was in Linden. Let's see if the airport registered in Bellingham. They did not. It doesn't look like they registered. And I thought ours in Linden registered, but it's not showing up here. I'm not sure, but I thought there was just a slight shower. Maybe that was Saturday morning. Maybe that's not this morning. I'm thinking of Saturday morning, yesterday. So actually, if we pull up the 48 hour, there they are. So today was dry as far as I can tell, except maybe down here. I'm not sure what happened here, but everywhere else was a dry day. today so far, except now we might get a little bit of precip inbound as we just talked about. So going back to our chart here, no rain for today, so we're at 2.65 inches, and that is 5.8, I believe, is the, I think that's the average for November. I keep forgetting that number, but so 2.6, so we're not quite halfway to that precip for November. So, and I believe November is the most wet month of the 12 at the airport. So, October was just a little bit under. Now, one thing you notice is how warm it's been. And this is only going to go up today because we missed out on the record by 5 degrees so far, unless something changes yet tonight. But we're at 4.5 degrees for high temps above normal at the airport for November, and almost not quite 3 degrees for the low. And that includes a 29, our really good freeze there on the 4th. But otherwise, besides these 234s, everything's been in the 40s, and we got a 50 for a low, and then we've had 62, and then we have had 61 today. So 53 is the average right now, and that'll be going down to 52 tomorrow for the normal high. So that kind of gives an idea. Let's take a look at the accumulation graph. We've been looking at this every live. We are exactly about 2.5 inches short right now for the year. Again, we've made up about 1.5 inches since October 18th. We were 4 inches right about there, 4.13 inches, and now we're 2.75, 2.5. I'm trying to do this math quick. Yeah, 2.5 inches short. So we've made up over 1.5 inches in the last few weeks. And we'll see what the weather's going to look like this week. So let's jump into that. Actually, let me just take a peek at the comments here. I'm going to take a look at... Oh, by the way, we have about one more day before you can enter the Guess the Snow at My House 1 inch. 1 inch of snow at my house. You need to have the date and the time with AM or PM on it to be qualified. But that is a few posts earlier, earlier this last week or late last week. Please enter that contest. We're going to close it up tomorrow night. Veterans Day at 8 o'clock, I think is kind of when we said. But don't forget that. Let me take a look at your comments here. And we got a decent amount of people watching here tonight. Appreciate that. And hang on one second here. Okay, Jennifer's monitoring the chats. She does a great job. 60 in Sudden Valley, so that was kind of think what we saw there. Steph says. Brenda says 61 by Vista, or off Vista by the high school. 61 at North Bellingham. Yes, you want to know when it's time to buy bread? Not yet. Okay, for some reason I'm buffering. Not sure what's going on with that. And, okay, Joel says the audio was fine earlier, assuming he's still on. So, again, we're tweaking this, working on it, so give us some grace, I guess. Let me check the live here. Wow, we got lots of comments here. Keith says, a beautiful morning. Okay, streaming well now. Good evening. Stream's looking and sounding good. Jennifer's monitoring the chats. And then we have a webpage buffer. Okay, and then the contest there is on the Facebook page. So, and then Keith says 60 degrees. For some reason, I thought Keith was over by Lake Whatcom, but I'm not so sure about that. But 60 degrees. So it looks like that's kind of the primary, temp that we see in Bellingham at this time, somewhere in that 60 degree range. So let's bump ahead here. We're looking at tonight's GFS. I'm going to refresh this. Again, I have not looked at this in the last 2 days, so bear with me. When the weather goes nice, I kind of took a break. So, but you can see the ridge that we had. In fact, if you want to see this ridge, this is why we had warmer temps. See this ridge that's set up, and even if this had been shifted west, we would have maybe had a record-breaking day. But it was a little bit the main part was kind of shifted east here. So as we look at tonight's run here, hold on one second, let me back this up. Okay, and so we have this little system trying to, this little bit of a trough. You can see those lines kind of pushing down, ridge lines push up, trough lines push down, so to speak. That's just kind of the way you're going to look at it on the map. And we're looking at 500 millibar, which is way up in the atmosphere, or 18,000 feet, but it gives us a bird's eye view of what's coming. We definitely got some cold air up in Alaska currently, and of course we've got the cold air over here. And so, um, but I think Florida they're talking about falling iguanas. So if you've never heard about that, just Google it. But they're having some temps going down into the 30s, maybe even the upper 20s. So that's what's going on. My brother in Michigan had snow this morning, and they have some lake effect snow just to the south of him tonight. So that was kind of cool to see. His kids love snow. I love snow, and he loves snow. So we get along quite well. But anyway, here we go on into Tuesday, and there's just not a lot here for precip. You got this little bit of a light trough, I'll just call it that, Lite, and then kind of, just kind of a dirty ridge, we call it, where systems can still come over it as we go into Tuesday. And then we got this upper level low kind of swinging out over here in the ocean. And then it kind of heads to Oregon, California, may hit us a little bit. And then you got this little low here popping off. I'm going to back that up. You see that upper level low, and then boom, you kind of see that head to the Olympics. Now, this is just one run, but that's an interesting feature we'll need to take a look at more at the surface. And then we see kind of an elongated trough, basically all the way up and down Western Canada. I mean, it's not one trough, so to speak, but it's just this long, drawn out, and continues into Friday. So I'm thinking maybe Thursday, we could see Thursday, Wednesday, something. We'll take a look at that maybe into Friday, and then maybe a little bit of drying, we'll see. But here comes another one out of the Gulf of Alaska, swinging down here on Saturday, and it swings in here on this run tonight, and that's about as far as I'm going to go. That's into late Sunday night. So we'll keep an eye on this. Let's go to the Euro from the 12Z, since the 0Z is not out yet, and it's the run before. Here you see our little light trough. Here's the cold air back east. You've got a ridge set up, basically all the way here. That'll start to break down as you see it lighten up there. And here looks like Tuesday. It just feels like Tuesday is going to be a nice day overall. I'm not sure that it'll have a lot of sunshine, but we'll check on that. And then here comes Wednesday. Here comes this trough. So it looks like we're in fairly decent agreement about this trough, upper level low, swinging down, kind of heads. And then you got this little split off right here. Now, the Euro is taking it much further north, at least just at a quick glance, as opposed to the GFS tonight was running that closer to us. So we got to keep an eye on that. And then here we go into Thursday. So kind of a similar, I'm sure there's some differences, a little differences, but the overall thing is the same as we go into Friday. Maybe a little bit of drying here on the backside if there was some precip with that. And then we kind of head into the weekend. And then here comes another one. The Euro has a good, decent one there coming in on Sunday of next week, or about a week from into Monday, as opposed to the GFS tonight. It does, I guess, have that Sunday into Monday. So similar, so a fairly decent agreement. We'll need to look at some of the specifics. Let's take a look quickly at the, if you guys want to know about the iguanas, I'll show you. There was a falling iguana. Hey, here's Michigan City, Indiana, snowing tonight. This is the Turnpike near South Bend. If you ever want to follow one of the best guys in the business, it's Johnny Kelly on Twitter. He really updates the current weather all over the U.S. So here we are in Union Pier, Michigan. Here's Notre Dame. Look at that robot clearing snow, I guess. So anyway, big lake effect snow, South Bend, Indiana. But down here, I believe... Hold on a second. There was he had up earlier. I checked his page. He had a flying iguana warning, but hold on. I mean, a falling iguana warning. Now I've got to find it. Here it is. This comes from Matt. Let me see. Where is he? In Orlando, Southwest Florida. Wink News. I forget where that is. I follow him or have followed him in the past, but he says falling iguanas possible Tuesday morning. 20s way up here, 30s, 40s, and 50s. You know what this means? They are going to be really cold in Florida. They're going to have to dig out their winter coats. But when it drops below 45 degrees, they can fall out of trees. They're immobilized, but not dead. So there'll be pictures of that if that happens. So that's the falling iguanas. Now you know what you might not have known before because you joined the channel and watched the live tonight. Let's take a look at precip here just on tonight's GFS. Kind of seeing what they're coming up with as we put into motion some light precip here coming in. Well, GFS is trying to give a quarter inch to a half inch, and more up here in the mountains. And then, so a little bit of precip, it looks like, at least on this run. And then it looks like a dry Tuesday, as we talked about. Yep. And then even Wednesday might start to get some precip later in the day. And then you can see that system coming down here, where I remember I said that upper level low is dropping down this way. And you can see California, Northern California looks like to have some benefit. We might also get the northern part of that as we go into Thursday. Mountains get a decent amount again. And then we go into Friday, more rain. And then into Saturday. So that's the GFS tonight. So kind of what I'm seeing is some precip overnight into Monday. Not going to be an all straight up rain out. Tuesday looks nice. More precip inbound potentially Wednesday night into Thursday, Friday. Something like that. We'll take a look at wind here in a minute. Let's check the Euro from just to see what their precip is. And I'll put up a summary of this so that people who don't get a chance to watch the live will get them some kind of a forecast update here before I go to bed tonight. But you can see the Euro 12Z has also kind of got this feature where there's some rain coming in, and kind of here closer to the water, where there's almost, this is interesting, where there's more of a donut hole here, some up in the mountains. We go into Monday. Most of this is falling overnight, by the way, on the Euro. So as you go back to the radar, it's some of this inbound right here as it comes in the next 2-3 hours. We'll see if we get a half an inch at the airport. So and then let me check back here as the Euro as we go into Monday, and then that kind of stops raining. Tuesday looks dry into Wednesday until we get later in the day, afternoon, a little bit of precip on the Euro. Here comes that feature down in Oregon, Southwest Oregon, Northern California. And then we come into Thursday, and this is what I said. Here comes more precip into Friday and Saturday into Sunday. And the Euro's pretty wet on the 12Z for the next week. So look at this, all up and down and again, I'm not saying this is a forecast. I'm just looking at this one run earlier today. But you can see the whole west side is, in the mountains, and all along the coast, down here especially, but even us, a little bit of some maybe shadow here in Seattle area, so to speak, but there you go. So that, again, just kind of gives us a general idea. Let's take a look at snow here, and I'm mostly looking at the mountains. We're not looking at lowland snow. I'm just curious to know. Okay, so the GFS, which is woefully inaccurate when it comes to snow in the mountains, is trying to dump on Mount Baker here. It would be on that low later in the weekend, that one that split off. So it's trying, gives here in the northern Cascades, and even down into the central Cascades, kind of on that Thursday night, Friday, is where it's really trying. We'll see. Don't trust that too much. We're going to have to look at the fine details on a high-resolution map. I'm going to pull up the 12Z Euro for snow. And again, we're just kind of looking for mountain areas. Nothing really showing until we get here toward midweek, where now here's the snow down here. Probably California is going to see some snow in the higher elevations. And here comes that Thursday. Now the Euro is advertising a decent snowstorm here on the Thursday night, Friday run in the mountains. Look at this. So they're also giving us at least a hint of it. Snoqualmie, not so much, but Stevens. Let's see. I think this is Snoqualmie through here, and Stevens is kind of more up here, right? Because we go Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish. So Stevens here, but Snoqualmie here. So, elevation, 4,500 feet, 4,000 feet, maybe down to that area. I think Snoqualmie's like 3,500 feet, but might see some there too. So let's take a look at what the forecast for the National Weather Service. Now let's see if it matches. And this is kind of why I like doing it. Let's see if it matches what I just said. I have not looked at any of this, but let's take a look. Tonight, 100% chance of rain with patchy fog. Okay, and then 60% in the morning. Basically, that's going to dry out is kind of what that's indicative. Still leaving a chance of rain overnight Monday night, but notice they say rain, and this is for Linden, but this is a general idea. Rain before 2 p.m., so drying as the day goes on. A little bit of southerly breeze. They're looking at a quarter to a half inch possible. There you go. So we just talked about. And then Veterans Day, Tuesday, looks to be not a half bad day. Could be a slight chance of rain. Doesn't look like much. Mostly cloudy, and that's why I said earlier, I said when you look at this, you see that ridge, and it's probably not strong enough to maybe fully push out the clouds, if I could say it that way. It's probably not the right way of saying it, but you can kind of guess some of the cloud cover some of the time that the sun, where the angle is and the time of the year, it might have a hard time burning through the clouds. With that ridge not being much of anything on Tuesday. It's a real flat ridge, let's call it that, instead of pumped up. And so then a chance of rain Tuesday night, and then you go into Wednesday, and I said probably later Wednesday is really when that rain might come in, and look what we got, 70% rain likely. Now they're saying after 10 a.m., that could be because the ensembles are showing that, but a tenth to a quarter inch Wednesday, they're calling for rain Wednesday night, they're calling for rain on Thursday, they're calling for rain on Thursday night, they're calling for rain before 4 p.m. on Friday, they're calling for rain possibly Friday night. You get the picture, and we just looked at that. So one thing I do want to also look at is that feature of that little low on tonight's GFS and see what happens. So here is Mount Baker ski area, about 4,200 feet elevation. I think, yeah, I have it set at 4,200 feet. That's about the Heather Meadows ski area. So we've got mostly rain here. Chance of snow Monday night, but there's not going to be a huge percent. Scattered showers by that time. Not, Tuesday might not be a bad day. 39 degrees. So no, you see what I said earlier. Not much for snow at the ski area. Now upper elevations might see some snow, but I'm looking at the ski area. And then we come into that Thursday night. Remember, that's what I said. Look at this: low of 31, and then snow. And so then we see Friday snow. Now, a high of 35, and then snow likely Friday night, Saturday. Wait, look at this. Saturday night, snow could be heavy at times. Okay, and we just saw that. We saw that, toward the end of the week, there's potential for some snow. Now, I'm not saying numbers or anything yet, but I bet you we see either a winter advisory or even a winter warning. Again, elevation-wise, not sure on that, but you can just kind of see that as we ran it tonight. So, potential for some snow at the ski area, and maybe a little lower coming up, and maybe a good dose of it for this weekend. That'll be good news up there because they need some snow to get open. I'm not sure that the Mount Baker ski area has... I keep checking this. I like it when they start tracking the snow and they turn their snow thing on, but I don't think they have. Eventually, they will get this updated, and they'll put the September-October numbers. That's what I want to see, the 25-26 season with September-October, but probably not up there yet. They've probably tracked it. They just haven't updated the website yet. So we'll keep an eye on that. No update since the 27th on the snow report. There's not really anything to update. They lost probably a lot of this snow in the rain on the November 1st precip when we had that inch and a half down here, and they had a whole bunch up there, and the snow levels were like 8,000 feet. So they lost a lot of that snow, no doubt. Okay, let me take a look at wind next. Wind is right here. Let's just see if there's anything we need to check out for wind. A little bit of southerlies, and we're seeing that tonight, 7 o'clock here, and then we go into, later on, 10 o'clock, and we just saw that on the observations, and then not too much. Some southerlies maybe along the water, a little bit southerly flow tomorrow. Nothing, a little bit of westerlies. Nothing jumping out at me here. That's screaming strong winds as we go into Tuesday, which will be a benign day for most everything, a lull, and then we're going to take a look as we go into Wednesday. We get to pick up there as the weather changes again. A little bit of southerly action on Wednesday, then we go to some northerly flow with the battle down here in southerlies, some Fraser outflow, nothing too crazy. Then we go back. Now this is where the system, you start seeing these winds picking up here. This is where we got to take a look as we switch over on that Thursday. We got some southerlies coming Thursday. We'll have to keep an eye out. That's 30 miles an hour potentially, maybe a little stronger. Nothing jumping out at me at this point. Now later Thursday, kind of that similar vein there. And then as we go into Sunday, and that's pretty far out. So I would say wind, it would be toward the end of the week for anything that would be something we were going to start, posting about. Again, there'll be some breezy, especially by the water over the next, 12, 24 hours. Things will kind of settle down Tuesday, I would say, overall. And then, Wednesday, it'll be a little bit northeast flow. and a southerly flow in the Bellingham area, so to speak, or by the water. And then we'll have to keep an eye on the Thursday, Friday time frame as we go into the weekend with that system coming through. Let's take a look at the precip totals for UW. Just this is 24 hours, so this ran at 4 p.m. today, so this is through 4 p.m. Monday. So they're going for a third to a half an inch, a little bit more up in the mountains. This is total precip. I'm just going to push this forward. You can see here comes the system on Thursday. This is through 4 p.m. Thursday, so you can see the numbers start to climb. Like everybody has an inch by 4 a.m. Friday, basically. I mean, maybe by the water, it's not quite that much, but that's just this run. Look at the mountains, shooting for 2.5, 3 inches potentially, and I guess that's as far as it went tonight. So was that 4 a.m. Friday? I'd like to see the rest of this run, but maybe that's as far as they're going. Hold on, let me take a look at this. That's 4 p.m. Friday. 4 a.m. Friday. Yeah, it's as far as the run goes. So, for the UW tonight. So I think that covers just, and then I'm going to go take your questions if I can. I do want to look at something on here. Just a minute here. I want to see. Okay, so here's a 9. Okay, so this is what I was looking at earlier. And you can see this, and I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to show you this right here. And hopefully it helps you out. You don't have to understand every last thing. Okay, come around late Wednesday night into Thursday. You see this low down here that kind of heads towards California, Oregon. You see it split off right there. See that little route right there? Okay, and then it kind of hugs up the coast. You see that? And then it kind of crosses right at the corner of the Olympic Peninsula. Right there. It's kind of weakening. Okay, now this is at 15 or 18,000 feet. If you go to this is the same run, GFS tonight, okay? Here that low is. That's a 977 low. That's a decent low, hugging the Oregon coast. Okay, here it comes. It's strengthening. Now, it's one run, but I'm looking at this. That's strengthening. It's up down to a 975 as it's coming up the Washington coast, and then it hits the Olympic corner there, Nia Bay, so to speak, the strait at 980. That is weakening, but and then it dives way up there to 986 up into, is that Alberta? Okay, but right there on Thursday night into Friday, that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on. Now, the Euro did not have that. Earlier, it had that going up here, but this creates a gradient. You see those lines? You see these 1,000, 2,000, these millibars of pressure. You see each of those? That creates a pressure gradient, and that's what creates strong southerly wind. Okay, it's kind of opposite of the northerly northeast Fraser outflow that we get when you have the pressure gradient setting up here and the high up here and the low diving down here when we get kind of our snowy blizzard type strong northeaster. This is going to create a southerly gradient where it's from higher to low pressure. It creates that southerly wind. And whenever you see a low, although this one is weakening as it hits the corner, whenever you see that right about there, that's a possibility for a windstorm. But I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just noted that tonight, and we'll just keep an eye on that. There would have to be a lot of details to say that we would have one. And the Euro is not, doesn't feel like the Euro, at least on the 12Z, was advertising this. So, or at least showing it. And this is one run, tonight's. We don't know anything other than I just noted it. Okay. We're still having a little bit of problem with the buffering. So, again, the snow thing has to be done on Facebook. You can't do it on YouTube. It has to be done on the Facebook post. Otherwise, we'll get lost on where it is. Okay, Keith is the Alabama James area. Okay, yep. I know exactly where the Social Security office is and the dispatch. Yep. I used to eat a lot of when I was younger. Well, more in my teenage years. My parents, my grandparents loved going to Lee's Drive-In or Lee's, whatever, Chicken Lee's, whatever they called it. There at the corner of Alabama and James. I think it's the hamburger place, filling station. Is that what it's called now? But they would love to go there, and we used to go there. It was a special treat back when we were younger. So. Okay, Jennifer says they upped the precip totals. Yeah, regarding snorkels, I'm not saying that this is going to be a huge, week of rain necessarily, but just know that, it's not going to be a full dry week, and it's not going to be necessarily a full wet week. It's not going to be raining, and I'm not seeing any glaring, oh, it's this, flooding things or anything like that. So I'm not saying that, but, it's going to be a November week with potential of maybe some wind. Again, not saying that this is going to create a big windstorm yet, of course. Don't want to say that. But just something to keep an eye on. Okay, let me check the Facebook comments. Again, if you're really liking this and following this and you appreciate the time we're putting into it, because this all does take time, please like us, like the YouTube, like the Facebook, share a comment, ask a question. We take all questions, at least weather related. Don't ask me about, the Seahawks going to win the Super Bowl, those kinds of questions. I have no idea, but, and I don't know when it's going to snow in the lowlands either, but we can talk about, possibilities and things like that. But the other thing I was going to say is share the YouTube live, get the word out, tell your friends. The more you watch these lives, the better the algorithm. And if you subscribe, if we can get to 500 subscribers, I think it starts unlocking more things for us to be able to do. So, okay, let me check the Facebook comments here. And again, I apologize for the buffering. So, okay, Catherine says the posts on Blue Sky fell off. Back to Twitter. Okay, well, yeah, and I did not go to Blue Sky. I just have had so many different accounts, and even opening up this YouTube and starting that has been it's just more stuff to keep up with. So, but hopefully the YouTube will, as we're doing these, at least from my office, it'll give people more opportunity to hear what's local right here in Whatcom County. I think Catherine might be in Skagit, but, we'll keep an eye on Skagit as well. So, but appreciate Catherine's been a longtime follower on the page. So, and we're still on Facebook, and now we're adding the YouTube lives. Jennifer said, yep, talking about potential winds, could see some later in the week. Logan says he's a commercial pilot in airport. What's the winds liking? Been getting rock lately. Okay, and Logan, I'm not looking necessarily at, I'm sure you have to look up elevated winds. I'm looking more at 10-meter winds, but it potentially, again, minus the tomorrow or right now into Monday, which is not seeing much at 10 meters. That's really jumping off other than just kind of breezy by the water, which would include the airport, of course. I'm looking more toward the end of the week. We might see something. Will they issue a wind advisory? I don't know. They've been issuing wind advisories when I don't know. I don't want to talk about that because they're trying hard. And it's always hard to know. But it seems like they're doing wind advisories maybe a little quicker this year. I don't know why that might be, but and they're even for 40 mile an hour. And I know there's criteria they're following, but let's keep an eye on that Thursday, Friday, Saturday time frame. And that's what we'll be looking at. Brenda says she doesn't have to put out her heated hummingbird feeders. Not yet. Okay. And I don't know. I'm probably going to not say her name right, but Nicey or Nisi is saying the wind is and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. I apologize. I don't do that on purpose. But off of Bennett and 14 miles an hour, and we did talk about that. We saw some of the southerly winds there. Contest, the rain. Okay. I think that's most of them. Any other questions before I call it a night? Really appreciate those who are following these lives. We're starting to get more followers on these lives as we do them more often. So really appreciate those who support the page. I know there's a lot of people that are hurting and things like that. I've been hesitant to share the donations too much, but if you're able, and again, support those who have less too. Obviously the food banks and things like that. I got that. But if you do feel inclined to support us, you can find the link. It's at the top of our page, but it's also on GoFundMe. There's also a Venmo link as well, and people have supported us already, but I really appreciate that. It helps keep us going. I basically quit my other job when I dedicated my time in 19 to full, doing this way more because I was working a second job. And so the donations have really helped that out, but I appreciate that a lot. So very grateful for all the people that showed up at my sale yesterday. It was very busy, very well. Thank you very much. Got some Whatcom County Weather gear sold off. We've lowered some prices on the gear we have on the website, and sold a few sweatshirts and ear flap hat, and that was a lot of fun. Some calendars and stuff like that. So really appreciate it. Thanks, Keith, for joining, as well as others. Keith has been here, I think, every live, so really appreciate that. Thank you on Facebook for joining Not sure I have a whole lot else to talk about tonight, so I think I'm going to sign off. I'll do a summary, and we'll catch you on the other side. So recap: rain. Overnight, not a huge amount. I mean, they're calling for a quarter to half an inch kind of in the lowlands. Drying probably later in the day, mostly with a still chance of precip. Some shower activity into early Tuesday, then probably a fairly decent day on Tuesday. Probably not much for rain. Maybe we'll see a sunbreak or two, or maybe a little more. Wednesday might start out decent overall, and Wednesday into Thursday, or later on Wednesday, maybe I should say, early afternoon, mid-afternoon, somewhere in that time frame. With the potential of a cool down with some snow in the mountains, especially even down to the ski area as we go into Thursday night into Friday, with rain off and on Wednesday later, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not full on rain days every day, not every hour. There'll be some dry spells with some wind. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Okay, that's the recap. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and we'll catch you again either tomorrow night or in a couple of nights. We'll just kind of evaluate if we need to do another live soon, or if we can skip a couple nights and we'll do it on, say, Tuesday or Wednesday night. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great night.